Pro-Palestinian encampments have taken over universities across the world, from the United States to Canada to the UK to right across Europe to even Tokyo and of course down here to Australia. And by now it seems as though most encampments have either A, been shut down by police officers and government officials proudly upholding their commitment to freedom of speech and of course women's education, or B, they have actually led to fruitful agreements with their universities to divest from companies profiting off of genocide. Two fairly obvious outcomes, right? Well, not quite. There's one encampment in particular that doesn't seem to be moving or provoking a response from its university. And that's this one right here, currently taking place at Australia's oldest university, Sydney University.
So the camps have been going on for about 3 weeks now and the university is still yet to respond. How's the university been treating you in regards to the encampments? Have they put pressure on you guys to stop? What's it been like dealing with the university?
There's definitely some hostility. They want us out, but they won't be public about it. They don't want a bad image on themselves.
The university administration has been pretty silent. They have tried to, at best, kind of ignore what's going on here.
I think the university, they want to play a war of attrition. They want to give us a cold shoulder and hope that we'll back out. But no, that is not the case. As shown in our rally last Friday, that we've already made the intention we'll be here for as long as we have to. And some of us have already planned that might as well do our PhDs here as well.
This encampment has been labelled as a hotbed of extremism, terrorism, anti-Semitism, and unsafe for Jews.
Offensive nonsense going down on the campus.
We have, however, heard from Jewish students who say that they feel intimidated.
To combat anti-Semitism, it is running out of control.
So I wanted to find out what was really going on. Are Jewish people really frightened to walk on campus? Does the university have something to hide? Turns out, quite a lot. You see, behind this charming historic building oozing with knowledge, literature, and art, there are some really shady connections to the genocide in Gaza that they would rather you not know about. And it kind of explains why they've been awfully quiet for the most part. I'm going to be taking you deep into this university's dark history of involvement and connections with some of the world's most dangerous corporations that make this encampment very different. Let's go. Anti-Semitism. Upon arriving at the encampment, I was taken aback by what looked like a very wholesome moment between a Jewish rabbi and some Muslim students. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I mean, maybe he didn't feel safe and was trying to fit in for his own safety. So I actually asked him.
There are a few claims being peddled, I guess, that this is a hub of anti-Semitism where Jewish people don't feel safe. What do you have to say in regards to those claims?
I imagine that some Jewish people may feel unsafe for whatever reasons they feel unsafe, but that's why I wanted to walk here. And I have to say, I haven't had anything happen to me for, all this time, but I felt confident that I could walk here and talk to people. And we had a beautiful conversation just about actually theology and philosophy, as well as some things of current politics.
In fact, members of the Jewish community were a huge part of this rally at the encampment that took place a couple weeks ago.
How have you been treated and how are you feeling to be on campus?
I think for Jewish people, it's one of the safest spaces. I have felt nothing but love and support, and the only threats as a Jewish person I have received has been from Zionists.
Yet on the day this interview was taken, our Prime Minister thought it was most appropriate to visit a synagogue to condemn anti-Semitism on campuses. Meanwhile, every university in Gaza has been bombed to the ground, over 350 teachers and professors have been killed, along with over 5,500 students in Gaza. Education in Gaza has been absolutely obliterated, and it's what many are calling scholasticide. But hey, that's not important at all. Anyways, since we've got that out of the way, what exactly are these protests about? This is where things get deep, so please pay attention because there's a lot that Sydney University has to be worried about. Firstly, we need to unpack Sydney University's relationships with universities in Israel. Now, while on the outset this may seem like a friendly co-op of pen pals and a harmless friendship and exchange program, it's far from it. And by the way, this is something that so many encampments around the world have in common and are also demanding their universities bring an end to, and you'll soon see why. The Israeli universities that Sydney University promotes and upholds strong ties with are universities that are deeply entrenched within the Israeli army. These are universities that are actively conducting recruitment events for the IDF, conducting research for the IDF, giving scholarships to the IDF, assisting in developing weapons for the IDF, even making clothes for the IDF. You know, making clothes for the same guys parading the clothes of women in Gaza as we speak. The same guys that are on trial for what is already being called a plausible genocide while they play with the toys of dead children. The universities are by all means extensions of the IDF. Israeli officials even boast about the collaborative role the military shares with Israeli universities, stating that military technology and infrastructure would not exist without them. Technology like this D9 remote-controlled bulldozer that was actually made by Technion, another one of Sydney University's friendly pen pals. And let's not forget Tel Aviv University, which even went further to play a major role in forming Israeli national security policy that dictates Israel's disproportionate use of force and intense destruction, such as that we are seeing in Gaza right now. But look, we're just scratching the surface right now. It gets much worse. You see, Sydney University has a relationship with one of the biggest weapons manufacturers in the world, Thales, and it's a relationship that's inseparable. The university even has a memorandum of understanding with Thales that's been ongoing for almost 7 years since 2017, and the university boasts about this on their website. But to be fair, by reading this, you would never guess what Thales actually does. I mean, the word weapons or arms isn't even present on the page. You would never guess that this is the same organization that is responsible for death and destruction in most conflicts around the world, from Iraq to Afghanistan to Yemen. But hey, you would never know that. It's just about space and exploration. It really is a deadly relationship. And it's one that's primarily been fortified by this woman, Belinda Hutchinson, the ex-chancellor of Sydney University, a quote-unquote philanthropist, and someone who owns the most expensive apartment in Sydney. Now, the reason she's been so instrumental is because she actually sits on the board of Thales as the non-executive director. Very interesting. Now, although she just so happened to conveniently reach the end of her tenure just as the encampment began gaining traction, this relationship is still running very deep. We know specifically that there is research being done on campus collaboratively between Thales and Sydney University pertaining to drone operations. And we also know that they offer placements, internships, and scholarships that are all sponsored. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, look, this is all problematic, but what has this got to do with Gaza? Well, while Thales is highly secretive about where their weapons actually go, a little digging will show you that Thales has a proud partnership with Israel's infamous weapons manufacturer, Elbit Systems. Together, they proudly designed and created the Watchkeeper drone, a drone that was developed off of research they collected from the Hermes 450, a drone that's proudly marketed as being combat proven. You know, like proven in its ability to monitor aid workers in Gaza or civilians flocking for food before they wipe them out. The Watchkeeper or the Hermes 450 is no different to the watchtowers used in Auschwitz. They're basically tools of genocide. Thales also has a relationship with Israel Aerospace Industries, the group behind Israel's Air Force that's also responsible for the destruction we're seeing in Gaza today. And this again is an organization that Sydney University has no problem working with on campus. And while many would rather these encampments go away as if they have no place on campus, it would be better to ask, what place do such weapons companies have on campus in the first place? In fact, the links universities have with weapons companies become even more so evident when we follow the money trail. You see, between 2007 In 2024, the University of Sydney received over $21 million from the US Department of Defense. That's why we see them openly conducting $100,000 research for companies like Raytheon, a company that proudly boasts about arming the Israeli army and even having its components integrated into Israel's weapon systems. It's shocking, but it doesn't end there. You see, as a final note, we know that there is a peculiar little research hub in Sydney University known as the Ben Eggleton Research Group. Mr. Eggleton, who serves as the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Research at USyd, along with his research group, openly work and collaborate with Lockheed Martin, the same organization that supplies F-16s and F-35s to Israel, along with a huge list of other weapons they proudly arm Israel with. Now, we can keep going, but I really believe that this should suffice as a brief snapshot into the many ways in which Sydney University, and in fact many other universities across the world, are all playing a clear role and connection to the genocide in Gaza. Now, we did present these findings to the university and they did respond by saying that their partnerships and research must comply with relevant laws and government guidelines. But they didn't mention whether they actually are complying with the law. Given that you have a state that is currently on trial for genocide, being armed with weapons that are made by companies that your university has ties with, even when the Prime Minister of Israel currently has an arrest warrant issued on him by the ICC for war crimes, are you really complying with the law? And they've also mentioned that they do not have any direct partnerships with Israeli defense companies. Again, you can probably argue that all this isn't direct, but clearly there's a link there. To the university students around the world putting pressure on your institutions to divest from companies profiting off of genocide, keep going. The world sees you, Gaza sees you, and your efforts are not going in vain.
There's only so much we can do as people. And so to be part of an initiative like this, that, universities in America started first and there were results coming from that, universities in fact cutting ties with Israel, that's like a major achievement for students to kind of come together and bring about. And so it's been very exciting to be part of this encampment, despite the rain, despite the logistics and the struggles and whatever. It's been nice to be part of an initiative that feels like, it can actually bring about change.
In particular, some of the most meaningful moments that I felt being part of this encampment have been the moments when I've opened up my phone in the morning and seen images out of Gaza, out of Rafah, of Palestinian refugees who fled their homes in the current round of genocide, spraying messages of support onto their tents, saying, university students, we see you, Sydney University students, thank you. And that, I think, has been a really wonderful kind of touching aspect of what we're doing here, standing in this international movement of solidarity.
In a few years from now, the world will look back and ask, how did we let this happen? Where were you when this was happening? And you will all answer, you were fighting on the front lines against the institutions assisting in genocide. You were urging them to be on the right side of history. You were there, calling, fighting, and camping out until it came to an end. And you saw the people of Palestine finally free. May Allah reward you all and bless your efforts. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.